Healing after heartbreak is not linear, and if you're struggling to move on, there's nothing wrong with you. This video explores the life after a heartbreak, the psychology behind emotional pain, and how to truly heal. You thought the hardest part was the breakup. The conversation that drained everything out of you. The argument that finally crossed a line you couldn't uncross. The message you stared at until the words stopped looking real. You thought that was the pain. But no one warned you about what comes after. No one talked about the silence. Not the calm kind. Not the peaceful kind. The silence that follows you into every room. The silence that sits beside you on the couch. The silence that arrives the moment your phone stops lighting up with their name. The silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels crowded. Crowded with things you didn't get to say. Crowded with questions you'll never get answers to. Crowded with memories that don't knock before entering. This is the life after a heartbreak. And it doesn't feel poetic. It doesn't feel empowering. It doesn't feel like growth. It feels like being dropped into a version of life you didn't agree to. But listen carefully. This is not the end of you. It's the beginning of a chapter no one prepares you for, but one that quietly reshapes how you love, how you heal, and how you understand yourself. Maybe you're here because you're trying to understand the pain. Not numb it. Not rush past it. Not distract yourself from it. Just understand it. Maybe you're exhausted from pretending you're okay. You go to work. You answer texts. You show up. But inside something feels delayed. Like your body is in the present, but your heart is still standing in the past. And healing after heartbreak doesn't look the same for everyone. For many women, heartbreak turns inward. It becomes thinking, replaying, analyzing. You replay conversations word by word. You analyze tone. You search for meaning in moments that felt small at the time but now feel massive. You ask yourself, what did I miss? What should I have done differently? If I had loved harder, been softer, been quieter, been more patient, would this still have happened? The pain becomes personal. For many men, heartbreak goes quiet. You don't talk about it much. You distract yourself. You stay busy. You convince yourself you're fine. But the grief leaks out sideways. Irritability, restlessness, emotional numbness. A heaviness you don't quite know how to explain. You don't necessarily feel sad all the time. You just feel off, disconnected, unsettled, less like yourself. Different expressions. Same wound. Lost. Let this land before anything else. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not failing at moving on. Heartbreak is not just emotional pain. It's biological. It's psychological. It's neurological. When a relationship ends, your body doesn't experience it as something sad. It experiences it as separation. Your sleep changes. You either can't sleep at all, or you sleep too much just to escape being awake. Your appetite shifts. Food loses taste, or becomes comfort you lean on more than you want to admit. Your motivation drops. Things that once mattered suddenly feel distant. Even your identity takes a hit. Because love doesn't just connect two people. It reorganizes your life. So when that bond breaks, your nervous system reacts. That tightness in your chest? That ache behind your eyes? That hollow feeling in your stomach? That's not imagination. Brain imaging studies show that emotional rejection activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. Heartbreak literally hurts. So if you're thinking, why does this still hurt so much? Why am I not over this yet? That's not weakness. That's biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. Grief after a breakup is real. Even if the relationship wasn't perfect. Even if there were red flags. Even if you were the one who walked away. Because you're not just grieving a person. You're grieving a future. The future you imagined in quiet moments. The future you emotionally rehearsed without even realizing it. The future that shaped your decisions, your priorities, your identity. You're also grieving a version of yourself. The version who felt chosen. The version who felt safe enough to hope. The version who loved without armor. And here's something people rarely say out loud. You can miss someone and still know they weren't right for you. You can love someone and accept that loving them cost you too much. You can feel relief and sadness at the same time. That doesn't mean you're confused. It means you're emotionally honest. Let's talk about the psychology of heartbreak. When you fall in love, your brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Dopamine creates desire and anticipation. Oxytocin creates bonding and emotional safety. Serotonin stabilizes mood and self-worth. Love becomes a neurological anchor. Your brain associates that person with comfort, identity, emotional regulation, even survival. So when the relationship ends, your brain doesn't respond with logic. It responds with alarm. From a neurological perspective, heartbreak is withdrawal. Your brain was used to the drug of connection, and now it's detoxing. That's why you check your phone without thinking. That's why your mind replays memories like unfinished business. That's why you romanticize the past and minimize the pain. You know the relationship wasn't healthy, but your nervous system hasn't caught up yet. This internal conflict is called cognitive dissonance, the tension between what you know and what you feel. And it's one of the most painful parts of emotional recovery after a breakup. Here's where most people get stuck. They treat pain like the enemy. They rush healing. They suppress grief. They distract instead of process. They jump into something new too quickly. They stay constantly busy. They numb themselves emotionally. But pain isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. What you don't process, you repeat. Unprocessed heartbreak doesn't disappear. It waits. And it resurfaces later, often in new relationships, new conflicts, new patterns. So allow yourself to grieve. Not performative grief. Not rushed grief. Real grief. Write the letters you'll never send. Say the things you never got to say. Cry without explaining yourself. If this is resonating so far, pause for a second and ask yourself, how many of these patterns have I lived through? If the answer is too many, you're not alone, and this video is for you. Now let's talk about moving on after heartbreak. Not the version people pressure you into. The real version. Moving on does not mean forgetting them. It does not mean pretending it didn't matter. It does not mean erasing love. It means choosing yourself. Again, and again, and again. Even on days when your emotions resist it. Moving on starts with the story you tell yourself. Because your brain believes repetition. If you keep saying, I wasn't enough, your nervous system absorbs that as truth. So rewrite the narrative. Not, I failed, but we weren't aligned. Not, I lost everything, but I'm rebuilding myself. Not, I'll never love like that again, but I'm learning how to love in healthier ways. These aren't affirmations, they're corrections. Sit with the sadness without trying to escape it. This isn't weakness. This is emotional recovery. This is mental strength being rebuilt. Heartbreak doesn't just remove a person. It removes structure. The invisible framework your days were built around. The quiet rhythm you didn't even realize you depended on until it vanished. Habits, routines, rituals. The small, ordinary things that gave your day shape. The morning text that grounded you before the world rushed in. The late-night call that softened the edge of the day. The familiar, did you eat? Or did you get home safe? That made you feel seen in ways no one else noticed. Someone to tell the small things to. The minor frustrations. The funny moments. The thoughts that didn't feel important enough for anyone else. Accept them. When those disappear, it's not just quiet. The silence becomes heavy. Because silence after heartbreak isn't empty. It's loaded with absence. You wake up and reach for your phone out of habit, only to remember there's no one on the other end anymore. You experience something during the day and instinctively want to share it, and then the realization hits, sharp and sudden, that there's no place for that message to land. And that moment hurts more than the breakup itself. Because it's not dramatic. It's subtle. It's the slow ache of repetition. Day after day, your brain expects connection that never arrives. That's why the silence feels unbearable. Not because you can't be alone, but because your nervous system is still calibrated for togetherness. Your body learned to regulate itself around another person. Your emotions learned safety through shared presence. Your mind learned that relief came from connection. So when that structure collapses, Everything feels unsteady. Time stretches. Evenings feel longer. Nights feel especially heavy. And in that space your mind starts to wander. It replays old conversations. It fills the quiet with memories. It reaches backward searching for familiarity. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is trying to restore equilibrium. This is why heartbreak feels so disorienting. You're not just missing someone. You're missing the scaffolding that held your life together. And until you build new structure, new rituals, new habits, new emotional anchors, the silence will keep echoing. That doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're in transition. This is the space where healing begins, even though it doesn't feel like it yet. Because learning how to sit in that silence, without running from it, without filling it with pain, is how you slowly reclaim yourself. Not all at once. Not easily. But deliberately. And one day, almost without noticing, the silence won't feel so loud anymore. It won't feel empty. It will feel like space. And in that space, something new will begin to grow. So fill the space intentionally. Replace checking their profile with journaling. Replace late-night spirals with walks or podcasts. Replace emotional chaos with gentle structure. This is how mental strength forms. Not through force. Through consistency. Healing after heartbreak is not a straight line. Some days you'll feel lighter. Some days you'll feel like you've gone backwards. That's not failure. That's healing. And when temptation shows up, to check their social media, to send just one message, to reopen the door, remember this. Every time you reopen the wound, you delay healing. Digital boundaries are not cruelty. They're self-respect. Mute. Unfollow. Create distance. Out of sight doesn't mean out of heart. It means out of your loop of suffering. Heartbreak often becomes the doorway to transformation. This is where you meet yourself again. Not as someone's partner. Not as someone's emotional anchor. Not as someone's other half. But as you. Explore what you neglected. Create something. Move your body. Learn something new. Not to distract yourself, but to remember who you are becoming. This isn't just about letting go of someone else. It's about becoming someone new. Ask yourself this: if I love them so deeply, if I showed up so consistently, why can't I love myself with the same patience? Self-love after heartbreak is not a feeling. It's a practice. Speak kindly to yourself. Forgive setbacks. Celebrate quiet progress. You do not need someone to choose you to be worthy. You already are. The life after a heartbreak is not a desert. It's a wilderness. Unfamiliar. Lonely at times. Uncomfortable. But honest. This is where false versions of yourself fall away. This is where emotional strength is built. This is where clarity emerges. One day you'll wake up and realize something quietly powerful. You don't miss them anymore. You miss the version of yourself that needed them to feel whole. And that version has evolved. You walked through emotional fire. And you didn't just survive. You transformed. Heartbreak doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. And the life after heartbreak? It's waiting for you. To live it fully. To love again healthier. To move forward whole. If this video helped you feel seen, heard, or less alone like it so others can find it too, share your experience in the comments. Your words might be the reason someone doesn't feel alone tonight. And subscribe for more content. Because your heart may be cracked. But that's how the light gets in.